Ska Sebata on alternative fashion, the community, and concrete. Before we talk about alternative fashion, maybe Ska, you can tell us a little bit about your win in the PPC Imaginarium this year and last year.
Alright, hi everyone. Well, it's been an exciting 2 years in PPC. Last year I won second place in the fashion category for my collection titled Queen of Gems, which was based on pearls. And then this year I entered pieces under the theme Untamed, She Is. Basically a collection depicting how I was feeling currently in my personal life, and it's been a good thing that I managed to express myself in that way, because I never really do show parts of myself in that way. So I was really excited about this particular collection. So it's called Untamed, She Is, and it's a story about me as a person and about women in general, about how we are boxed into certain fields or names or titles because we have to, it's what society expects.
Okay. So how did you feel when you won first place this year?
I was very elated. I was surprised because I actually didn't think they would award a person who won something last year. I didn't think I didn't think I could actually win this year. So it was a very good experience. I was really genuinely surprised.
Okay. So now to alternative fashion. What we noticed was the collection that you ended for PPC Imaginarium was vastly different from the work that you do generally. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I've since discovered in the last 2 years that I am an artist first, and I send my messages through the art that I make, and then I am the fashion designer after. So it's been coming into my own, really. That's what I feel this collection is. It's me expressing myself as an artist. Like, I'm not just a fashion designer. I don't do ready-to-wear. I've always done haute couture, bespoke pieces, and not off-the-rack pieces. So this is just an extension of what I have been doing, but more defined to the artist that I am now.
And still on that, how did you find the use of clothing and mixing that with concrete? How was your process?
Last year it was difficult because I'd never used cement before. This year my process was more thought out. My vision was very clear. I had no doubts about the outcome. I knew exactly what I wanted to do and how I wanted to manipulate the cement. So to me it was easier to work with this time round. I knew the texture, I knew the consistency, and I knew just how much, and I knew the type of fabric to actually use with the cement, as opposed to last year when I was just winging it.
Okay.
So this time I really knew the type of fabric I wanted to use, how much of the fabric, how much of the cement, what else to add onto it, and how to make my garment structured.
And how long? From start to finish?
It didn't take me a very long time because, as I said, I was very clear about the process. I was very clear about the outcome. Once I knew what I wanted to do, it took me a full day to produce the garments. I made the garments beforehand. That's a general sewing process, which was about 3 days. And then the incorporating of the cement took a full day. And then the painting also took a full day. And then the drying. So I was very clear about the process. It didn't take me as long as I think it would have last year when I began this process.
Yep. You seem quite clear about what you want to do and what you stand for. Maybe we can dovetail into how you work with the community in Big Falls, because I noticed that you work with young girls.
I do.
Yeah.
I am part of a trust. It's called Rise and Shine Trust. What we do is we teach young girls in rural and peri-urban Victoria Falls the value of education through art in all its forms. So what we're saying is, as opposed to art as an added subject, like what usually happens in school, it can actually be the subject. It can actually be a career something that you take up straight after school and have it as your source of income. So that's the message we're trying to teach them, that it's not a hobby, it can be a trade.
Okay. In your opinion, how have the young women have been working with taking it?
It's been very exciting because, first of all, they didn't understand that what they see around them, what they do, or how they handle things is actually art. So it was a process to actually teach them so that they understand and they know that this is what is art, this is how you create, and this is what the outcome can be, and this is what you can do with it, and this is how it can change your life. So I think it's been a humbling experience for me to see that, and I think it's been a great experience for them to be part of the process.
Okay. Quite interestingly, the work that we do in Rise and Shine seem to be reflected in these works.
Yes.
Maybe tell us a little bit more about how your personal narrative impacts on a communal or national narrative.
All right. The community that I am based in, that I live in, is very patriarchy is very sewn into the fabric of the community. Everything is based on the man is the leader, the man is who you should look up to when you want something, and women are basically nothing or less than. And my collection is like a protest to say that's not it. I have my own mind. I can do what I want, and this is how I'm showing it. So that's what I have been going through within the community, just trying to empower the women that I am a part of, the community that I am part of, so that they understand that they can stand for themselves, they can create their own work, they can make their own money, and they can just be self-sufficient and self-sustained.
So what does a dress represent for you?
This, it depends really, but this particular dress is, like I said, it's a protest for me. I am untamed. I cannot be caged. I will always rise, and I will always be vocal on things that matter to me. I will always speak out on things that I see are not correct, and what I feel should be done, and how I see things should be made.
Okay. Do you stand for anyone, or is it just for yourself?
I stand for women.
Okay.
Generally, I am all for women empowerment and young girls. So yeah.
What about those women who don't want to be empowered, who want to be
Is
taken
there a
care of?
woman who doesn't want to be empowered, who wants to be taken care of?
There are some who want to be taken care of.
I'm not for those women.
Okay.
You should always find you should always find your footing. You should always stay above ground. You should always be able to say no when you feel something is not right. Don't just say yes because community says, or someone says, or because you need the person. You should always be free, be untamed. You don't need to be caged.
Okay, so what does the future look like for you? Is this going to be part of what you do? Are you going to participate in future PPC Imaginariums?
If I'm allowed to, I will definitely participate, because I think every year is a learning curve for me. I'm just learning how to use the cement more and more, what I can do with it, what I can't do with it, and how to manipulate it more. But for this particular line, I am looking to expand it. I do see something greater in the way I manipulated the cement, the fabric, the way I painted, the way I crushed the fabric. I created batik, essentially. And I actually want to see it as a fabric, sold as fabric, so that someone can actually purchase that fabric and make something of their own that defines them. So I'm looking into that. I have been researching on it, so I'm hoping the future just brings more light to that.
Yeah, I think we're going to open the discussion to the floor. If you have any questions. Yes.
I want to ask, does dressing describe someone's identity?
I don't feel that it defines your identity. There's a collection that was showcased, I think, in 2011, and the designer titled it, What is Ready to Wear? Is it you, the person who should be ready to wear it, or is it the piece of garment that should be ready to be worn? So I don't think it defines you. I think it just enhances who you are as opposed to defining.
Okay, you were talking about you being a person who presents yourself and then women, and then an artist afterwards, and then a clothing designer, fashion designer. My question is, you being a designer in Zimbabwe and standing for women at the same time, does the community and the society around and any institution support this idea of girls becoming fashion designers and, you know, that type of career when everybody's used to having girls being nurses, accountants, and then you just wake up and choose to become a fashion designer of all the things?
I think I have been fortunate enough to have a great support system. I am a self-taught fashion designer. I actually didn't go to school to learn fashion. I didn't go to school to learn art. So I think once you have the passion and the talent, if you have the schooling, the better. But then the support system, if it's there, then it works. I think I've been fortunate enough to have that, so it's working for me. It's working in that I'm able to then impact the girls that I am teaching, the girls that I am a part of, because they understand, they see me, I'm doing the work, and I'm self-taught. So it resonates with them that I can also do the same thing, as long as I put my mind and my will to it, and I have the support. Support is very important.
And I think girls kind of have a lot of leeway about what they can be. The pressure is on the boys. They are the ones who are supposed to become doctors and lawyers. But girls, you can play with fabric if you want. You can do what you want. It's seen as normal, yeah. It's just an extension of what women normally do.
It may be normal when they take it for leisure, not a career.
Your career.
Yeah, my part that I was asking about is taking it as a career.
I think it also depends on the community that you live in. And like I said, I've been fortunate enough to have the support. Of course, in Zimbabwe, it's not seen as, like, if you say you're a fashion designer, it's like, oh, no, Sona. You know, it's not necessarily like...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no one really says, no, then you have to explain, no, I actually design, I sketch, and then I make the pattern, and then I give a tailor to sew. So it's understanding, it's support, it's just the knowledge. I think there's a long way to go in terms of that people need to understand what fashion design actually is and how to incorporate it into the work field. Yeah.
Where do you see fashion design going in Zimbabwe? And do you think there is a future for fashion design in Zimbabwe? If it's there, where is it going?
Currently, honestly, the future looks bleak, in all honesty, because there aren't that many institutions or corporates or entities that actually support fashion design as a business. It's really like tailors are making the money and fashion designers are just there. So mostly we find ourselves trying to leave the country to get the knowledge, to get the expertise, and to actually be appreciated as a trade as opposed to as an art only. So in terms of it in Zimbabwe right now, there's still a very long way to go, but I do want it to be better, I do want it to be brighter, and I'm really advocating for it. The more I do this type of things and then show that this is fashion design, this is what it's about, I think it will grow.
What role do you think an institution like the National Gallery can play in order to support that future vision?
I think partnering with PPC for this in particular, because there haven't been that many competitions that actually incorporate fashion design. It's always been something else. So I think this is a huge step towards that. As long as more things like this happen, I think we're on the right track.
Questions?
It's very flexible. This time around, I was able to manipulate chiffon. The first time, I really assumed that I had to use a thicker fabric so that the cement would, would adhere to the fabric. But then I learned that it doesn't have to be. So I used a very lighter fabric and then now it feels more like a denim texture. It feels like batik. So it is fluid, it has movement. I was very happy with that it's fluid and it has movement. I actually wore the dress and I could move with it. It wasn't heavy at all, so it made sense to me. So I used chiffon. It's very light, it's very fluid.
And you notice that people are not allowed to touch, but people have been touching. They've been touching. Yes, like us.
Very quick. What was your very quick? What was your inspiration in terms of coming up with the garments? Other than okay, the competition said whatever it said. What really went through? What was the process?
All
The
right.
inspiration, the process.
Okay, so the inspiration was I've been trying to date and failing dismally at dating.
Oh.
Yes. Apparently I am difficult, I don't listen, I'm not a good girlfriend. Honestly, so it just came, I was like, you know what, this is just who I am. I'm a wild horse, I'm a wildflower. That was the inspiration. And if you can see, I painted wildflowers on the garment, and the dress, I made sure I designed it so it would depict a flower. And that's what I am. I'm a wildflower. I am untamed. You can't tame me. That's just who I am. So I will not conform because you want me to. So that was the inspiration, basically. Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, to comment on what you said about you're a difficult person,
Yeah.
I don't believe that you have something that you believe in and you should conform to it. And then, secondly, with paint, I see this time you used to paint. Is this a new experiment? Or is it something that's coming in the next slide? What is it?
Well, it was actually my first time working with paint. I had never used it before. I never actually painted anything before. So I was very confused about what I needed to do. So I did research, I looked at some videos. I looked at painting, fabric, concrete, and there was nothing online. And I tried to just research the best way that I could, but it was a new medium for me. And I'm very appreciative that I did have people who do paint, who helped me and to understand how to manipulate the paint the way I wanted to. And the lady at the shop where I bought the paint was also very helpful. She was like, buy this, don't buy this works, this won't work. But when I told them what I wanted to do, they were like, oh, this is new, we've never seen this, we hope it works. But so I was just confident in that it would work because I was so sure, like I could see it before I finished it. So I knew what I wanted to do. So it was a new medium, yes, but I really loved working with it and I'm looking forward to working with it some more.
Yeah.
You said recently that you don't conform. So my question, as a designer,
Yeah.
do you feel like you have to adhere to the morals of society? For example, if you want to design something that's explicit, and you know that the majority are going to frown upon that, but you know that's what you want to design.
Yeah.
Do you then rebel and design that thing, or do you then compromise what you really want so as to be accepted in the environment you're in? Like, is there a line to which we should say, no, yeah, we're going a little bit too far? Or is the designer and the artist who knows what you want, are you just going to say, you know what, whether they like it or not, I'm doing it?
Thank you for that. Like, for me, it's been something that I have experienced. When I first started designing, I never used to look or think about what people used to say. I'll just design from heart. I'll just make what I wanted to make. And then Zimbabwe hit, and I needed to make money. And so I started making garments that people liked. I would even take garments from pictures of magazines and replicate. But then, about 4 years ago, I decided this isn't who I am. I create. I lead. I set the trend. So now I just create from my spirit, from whatever I want to create. Not necessarily if it's going to be wearable or not. That's why I'm saying I decided I'm an artist first and a designer second. So now I just create according to what I want. Whether someone wants to wear it or not, that's up to them. But at least I'm doing myself justice by creating how I want and how I feel and what I want. Because design is not selling trends that people think. It's selling your taste. So I'm selling my taste. It's either you like it or you don't. It's so versatile. There's so much more I can do. Yeah.
Sorry to pester you, but maybe
It's
that
fine.
could be an inquiry now. Could you, as a fashion designer, then, I'm asking this as a favor, could you change the perception? Because I've noticed with female clothing, you could take a tablecloth and put it on top, and that's fashion. You can wear that. But with men, it's like pants, t-shirt, shirt, jacket. That's
it.
Yeah. So if you could make us more
Make you wear skirts.
versatile.
I want more fashion for the men.
Yeah.
I will try. I haven't really explored men's fashion in that sense because I've always found it boring, to be honest. So I will, because I think with what I'm thinking now for the fabric and the texture, I think because it's so rough, it's not very delicate. It's not something that a woman would want to wear every day. I really think this is going to be a men's line that I'm going to create.
Any more questions? I think we're going to take a walk and look at the winning garment to see. I'm sure some of you have not seen it. Just to, please don't touch. We're going to move into that small room there. Then we can come back. Oh, you want to ask a question?
Maybe why don't we start with this?
With these two.
Because from these two pieces, then we go into the winning piece. But anyway, before we go into that, for her also to talk us through these pieces and the processes, how she really, what was the inspiration behind the creation of this garment, in particular, and that garment. But what really inspires your thinking in terms of design and art form?
Usually it's what I see around me. And I'm very big on lines, on defined structure. And I'm very big on creating texture. Like if you find all my previous garments, I always manipulate the fabric. I'm very precise about recreating something using the fabric. I try my best to use plain fabrics so that you can see that I've manipulated the fabric. So that's my basic design thoughts. I'm very, very huge on creating structure, creating texture.
Is there any African designer or any international designer that you always look up to and also admire?
I'm a huge fan of Zuha Murad because he's also into manipulating fabric. He's a Lebanese designer. He does haute couture. So I've always looked up to him. I even copied some looks when I started. I remember writing an article about it, but he's been my biggest inspiration because he manipulates fabric the way I want to manipulate fabric.
Any African designer?
At the moment, no, I don't have one. Yeah, I find that African fashion is very boxed. People believe that African fashion is African print, when it's not the case. There's more to African fashion. It's not only print.
But we need to correct this because the so-called African print is not African.
Yes, it's not. That's the other
It's
thing.
actually Dutch fabric,
Yes.
which was exported to a market in Indonesia. So on their way, it came from Holland
Yeah.
to Helmond, from Helmond. So when they were traveling, taking the so-called African print, which we now call, we have actually assimilated it to be an African print.
Yeah.
So on their way to Indonesia, they used to pass through Ghana. So when they wanted fresh water, they would stop over in Ghana and then get some fresh water.
Yeah.
And in between, they managed to encounter with Ghanaian chiefs who also loved the fabric. So that's how it became
African fabric.
African fabric,
Yes.
because on their way they would drop and exchange water and fabric from the and then take the fabric straight to Indonesia.
But I think that's also messed up designers because there's no designing anymore because people count on the print is going to work for me. The print is going to be my design aspect. As opposed to, that's why I'm so huge on lines and structure and texture because I want to create it myself. I don't want a fabric to come all printed and then I just fold it anyhow I want and then voila, there's a garment. But that's not how I work.
But what do you, because when I look at African design, because I'm here, I'm talking from Bogola,
Yeah.
which is the mud cloth, which is found in Ghana,
Yes.
in Mali,
Yes.
with the Dogon people. Then I'm also talking about the kente, which is typically Ghanaian handmade print.
Yes.
What do you think? Because I mean, for me, that's really more as African.
It's Africans, yeah.
And especially that part of the continent. Here we've got our Boza, which is made out of bark of a
Yes,
tree.
bark, yeah.
You know, what inspiration do you take from it?
I think I've only just discovered how to manipulate that in the same way that I created this texture. Because when I saw it and it was done, I was like, wow, I've created batik. And I can actually just expand it. I can add more texture. I can add more aspects as opposed to just concrete. Because the first time I did the PPC, I actually remember I used cement and mud
Yes.
to make that texture.
Yeah.
It didn't stick to the fabric the way I wanted it to.
Yeah, because it was all.
Yes, it was all over the place.
Yeah.
But then now I know how to manipulate it. And I think if I had, because I couldn't get that same mud here in Harare. I got that in Victoria Falls in the village. So I think if I had that mud as well, I would have put it in my garments. So I think it's a learning curve, like I said before, that I would want to incorporate it. I would want to put it in my design and just make something new and different, something that's our own. Yeah.
Okay, I think we can move to that first garment, then we'll come to the kimono and go to the...
So this is my baby doll dress. I hand painted over it. I used the same technique as with the main dress, but the texture wasn't what I really wanted it to be. It didn't come out the way I wanted it to be.
Okay. Does anyone have any question before we move on to the next garment? Oh, artwork.
All right.
Before we move on to the next artwork?
Yes.
Okay. If there aren't any, yeah, and now the kimono. Only after you spoke about chiffon, did I realize that it wasn't cotton?
No, it wasn't cotton.
Yeah, I only realized now, just now.
Oh, yeah. So this is it's like a heavy type of chiffon. I make luxury kimonos like the one I have on right now. So it's part of my Fever by Ska Sebata collection. So this was a kimono I manipulated with the cement because I really thought, oh, a nice coat with this texture would work. But then this particular fabric also hardened harder than I actually wanted it to be. But I really do like the paint work that I then did on top. I think it would work well as a wall piece as opposed to be a wearable piece.
Any questions? None? Okay, let's move on. So tell us about your baby.
My baby, Untamed. So like I said, this was chiffon. It was a plain white fabric. It's about 10 to 12 meters of fabric that I first made the garment, and then I dipped it in the cement mixture that I made, and then I had to wait for it to dry a bit, and then I poured paint on it, like acrylic paint, and then I started painting with it using a balloon. So I was using a balloon kiss method to make the flowers. So it took about 6 hours to paint over, and I really, really liked the outcome. So when it was done, like in the beginning when I first started painting, I took one corner and I lifted it up off the ground, and then it created this crackling effect. So when I was done with the painting of the garment, I remember lifting the garment and then just crushing it on the ground to create the texture that you then see now as the crackling. So it looks like it's flowers in a field, I think. So that's my baby, Untamed. That's me.
What did you say about the cracks?
I loved the texture, and it looks like vines. It looks like it's a flower, but it's sitting within vines, and it's like trapped, but it's like breaking free. I really, really loved the way it came out, the way it just showed that it's cement and fabric and paint all at the same time.
You had initially said that your vision was quite clear. While you're actually creating the piece, were there
Yes, the crackling was that moment for me. Because before, I actually thought it would be more shiny. I remember buying paint that was more, it was glazed sort of. And I thought it would be a sparkly dress. And I was thinking, oh, should I add sparkles? Because I did add sparkles last year. But then when I saw that crackling, I was like, oh my God, this is texture. This is what I want. And it looks like vines, it looks like thorns. So that was the moment for me. Yes.
So what does this particular artwork mean to you? What does it mean to you?
It
when you
means
look at
it means freedom to me. She's so free and she's so pure and beautiful and she's just doing her thing, and that's how I see myself always, like just doing my thing. Like I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. I'm just doing my thing.
She looks very tamed.
Does she? How?
Long dress?
Long dress.
Yeah?
It's kind of like, you know.
But imagine her running through a field of sunflowers, free and wild, with all that fabric just going everywhere. It's a lot of fabric. I actually think it wasn't done as much justice as it was the first time it was laid down outside, because it's a lot. It actually spreads over the whole. So she's very free.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is
But
this cotton again?
This is chiffon.
But I think I would question, what does the length of the dress have to do with being tamed or being untamed?
In a smaller context of the freedom of the untamed, it would seem that this is confining in a way, and so that certain freedoms are not taken care of in this kind of apparel.
But I don't agree with you. Because the dress is flowing. You have freedom to run, to do anything. If it were
Short,
tight,
yeah.
short
Or
tight
tight,
fitting,
yeah.
then you have to walk a certain way. You cannot run, obviously, but you can do all those in that dress.
All right.
That's fine. Wear pants.
And she could wear pants underneath that as well, so, you know. She's free, yeah, she's free to do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
And there's cleavage. You know, the dolly doesn't have boobies, but there's cleavage.
But
Yeah, the back, like it's a very free, it's a very sexual, sexy dress.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, without showing too much.
For me, it's the cracks. It's all the human cracks we all have in our parts. That when I looked at it, I mean, every time when I look at this dress, even when we decided to say, well, we're just going to put it here on its own, because when I looked at these cracks, they are all cracks. We all have cracks in our lives. You know? So that's what I saw in the cracks, because that's what batik to me defines, is those what we have, whether we like it or not. It doesn't matter whether you are from Kathmandu or from Nairobi or from London, from wherever, but the cracks are always there.
Yeah, and I think that makes us human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of relate to what Mr. Chuk was saying. The cracks, like he's saying that we have our cracks, we have cracks in our hearts, like the balloons and the flowers and the hair back and coming out is actually a process. This is a process that you're probably going through that most of us are actually trying to do as well.
Yeah.
There's a time when we're,
Yeah.
and we're cracking and
Yeah, no one is perfect,
breaking
yeah.
out.
Countries have cracks, families have cracks,
Yeah.
individuals have cracks, institutions have got cracks. I mean, this is part of
Frank
life.
wants
I
to
mean,
say something.
there's no country without cracks. I'm sure if there's one, somebody can point me to that country, then I can go there. Yeah. But I mean, it's a very powerful piece, and from the previous piece, there's a much bigger difference and a much bigger understanding of the material.
I listened to you. I listened to what you said. So I tried my best this time too.
At some point you were saying that at that point you were having problems dating.
Every day,
Relatable.
all the time.
Relatable.
Find that because it feels a lot like splashing and was it therapeutic?
It was. It was. Like straight after a fight. I remember painting. It was straight after a fight about how I wouldn't go out because it was now 9 o'clock and I was like, I'm sleeping. So I remember that I felt so much at ease when I did paint it. And it just made me so comfortable and so easy. And I was like, when I was done, I was like, this is me. This is how I feel. And this is everything on this dress. So it made sense to me.
So you were angry?
I was angry.
There's a lot of rage in this dress.
I was actually going to say the tones are quite dark, although we assume it's going to be worn by a free person. So does the dark tone have anything to do with...
Not necessarily, because I was looking for hues that would complement the cement without drowning it.
But it looks like a garden in the nighttime. It's very beautiful.
Thank you.
And when it comes to the same idea of therapy, right? Then what defines Ska's lines of fashion? I mean, when you are creating them, that is therapy. What else defines your work?
And thank you for that question, because this is vastly different from what she usually does.
Is it?
Yes.
But then when you find like the names of my collections, if you look through my website, you'll find that the previous one was She Warrior. The first one was In Full Bloom. The other one was called Woman Scorned. The dresses are pretty, but the message they convey is very deep for me. It's things that I see around me through other women that I portray through my garments. So when I do create, like when you read my bylines about the collections, you actually see that there's always a deeper meaning to them. It's always therapy. It's always therapy.
Do we have any other questions? Oh, okay.
Yes, I have a question concerning the technique, the whole batik approach.
Yeah.
How dry was the concrete when you finally started to apply the color?
It wasn't completely dry.
Yes.
Because when I researched, I saw that if you want to do like an acrylic pour method, the surface has to be a bit wet so that it's fluid enough to move, so that I can smash from one point to another. So it wasn't completely dry. I remember painting over it when it wasn't completely dry, and some of the cement was actually coming off onto the balloon, but it wasn't completely dry.
For the other two garments, is there any significance of the red and blue?
That was all the paint I had. But red is actually my favorite color.
Or maybe it was, Miss Ichko was saying, maybe it was after the fight as well.
Yeah, I remember, because those ones are really, they're like more the rage kind of garments, because I was really splashing. I was like, you're making me angry. I can do what I want. And then this one, I was actually more peaceful when I was making this, because I was dancing, my cat was helping me paint. Well, she thinks she was helping, but it was a peaceful thing to do. But at the same time, when I did those other two pieces, I was more enraged than when I was calmer when I was doing this. But red is my favorite color. I always use red in all my collections.
And in the use of the red and the blue, was there the genitive identification for the male and the female? And within this one, you have the tertiary elements of the purple and the pink. Did that have some sort of influence on gender?
No, because I didn't want to represent any men in this particular garment at all. I wanted people to look at it and think it's a woman in full bloom. She is wild and she is free. So that's just it.
Okay. If we don't have any other questions, thank you, Ska, and thank you everyone for coming to the conversation. We hope you come for another conversation next week. We have another one on Friday.
Can you tell us